The Magicians Podcast is brought to you in proud association with the Magic Circle, Alakazam Magic, and Gigio.
Did it bother you or not that some of your acts went and worked in Impossible?
No, it did bother me. Yes, it did.
Yeah. Yo, it's my life, my time, my rights, my rhymes, my grind, my struggle, hustle, sweat in my blood too. I'm ready to smell fear, I smell a lot. My competitors fled scared, cause they smelled I was hot. I want it all, excess, the sex, much success, stress us. I want it all, no less, so come on.
Perhaps the most powerful magic booker on the planet is in my hot seat this week. His name is Simon Painter, and he is the producer of The Illusionists. Welcome, my friends, to the Magicians Podcast. I am Richard Young. Thank you very much for hitting the download button, and welcome to the show. If you haven't done it, please do press the subscribe button. That way you will be updated every single time I upload a new episode. This is a very special fortnight on the Magicians Podcast. It is the Illusionists fortnight. Today I speak to the producer, and next week I speak to, without question, one of the most creative magicians on the planet over the last 30 years. Yes, Kevin James is in my hot seat next week, right here on the Magicians Podcast. If you don't follow us on Twitter, please do it now. We are at Magician Podcast, or you can give our Facebook page a like. Just go to facebook.com/Magicians Podcast. There is a great community building up on that podcast page. Lots of interaction with you guys after each episode. So if you haven't given us a like on there, please go and do it now. Otherwise, you're only getting half of the Magicians Podcast experience. December 2015 will probably go down in history as the most popular month for magic in this country for the last 50 years. The reasons? Well, Dynamo was playing 5,000-seat arenas up and down the country most nights. Derren Brown was enjoying his longest ever West End run, and there was another incredible show in the West End featuring 7 of the world's greatest magicians. It was called The Illusionists. Compare these incredible achievements to my career in December 2015. I was doing close-up gigs. Some of the highlights include performing in a Sainsbury's staff canteen and the waiting room of a Specsavers. Living the dream. Anyway, in amongst all of my success, I managed to find time to go and meet Simon Painter at the Shaftesbury Theatre on the afternoon of a performance of The Illusionists. It was really kind of him to meet me. As I'm sure you're aware, they were also doing a Broadway run at the same time, and there was a show just about to open in Australia. This guy is incredible. It's amazing what he's achieved. And as you're about to find out, he's not actually that passionate about magic, really. He's got bigger fish to fry. But it was very kind of him to meet me. This interview was recorded in the stalls of the Shaftesbury Theatre. Here he is then, Simon Painter.
Yo, it's my life, my time, my rights, my rhymes, my grind, my struggle.
So here I am with, probably the most powerful magic booker in magic at the moment, Simon Painter. How are you? Thanks for doing this.
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. This is incredible, isn't it? We're sat here in the stalls. What, you're about halfway through the run now? How's it going here, first of all? Can we get a little bit of an update on, how it's going?
It's unreal, actually. We're going to take between £3.5 and £4 million in London. So it's fantastic.
Do you get to keep all of that? Or?
Definitely not. No, it's an incredibly high cost show. So that is that will be the gross, not the profits. Okay. Very slim profit margin, but it's been delightful. I mean, it's been received incredibly well. Had some really lovely reviews and some really awful reviews, which is what we've come to expect. But I think the audiences absolutely love it. It's definitely a lot of fun, and it's really going great. I mean, I saw the show myself last night, having not seen it for a couple of weeks, and I sat right here in the middle of the stalls, and everybody just loved it.
Good
so that
stuff.
was really nice to see.
So I'm interested to hear a little bit about your background first. How on earth you've got to this place where you are today, where you've got, I think you just told me, 6 shows on around the world. You're a violinist, I think you started, weren't you?
I was a classical violinist, not a terribly good one actually, but I played a lot when I was very good when I was a kid, and then I sort of gave it up a bit really, and then I ended up getting a job with Spirit of the Dance, which was the big Irish dance show, and I travelled all around the world with this chap. Gave me a chance, and I used to wear this awful leather jumpsuit and had this electric fiddle, and I used to dance around the stage, the violin, all around the world, and it was amazing. I mean, it was me and 25 dancers,
Nice.
So I was the only single straight guy in the cast many times. So it was a numbers game at that point, really. So it was great. I mean, really good fun. And I saw effectively what it was an amazing post and a bit of marketing coupled with a very entertaining show. Spirit of the Dance was one of the third Irish show. Really, it was obviously Riverdance, then Lord of the Dance, then Spirit of the Dance. And it was incredibly entertaining and with a wonderful bit of marketing, and the guy that ran it was very inspirational. He really started with nothing and just made ideas come out of thin air. And so I really emulated that. I tried to produce shows that were bigger budget than that, and do it my way. But certainly the way of doing it was to make these wonderful bits of marketing and back it up with a great show.
Is it more important than the show, the marketing?
Well, the most important thing is selling tickets. So the only thing that matters, sadly, literally the only thing that matters to anybody is whether the show sells tickets. And I'm sorry to say that because we care deeply that the shows are good, and we try very hard to make them as good as they possibly can be, and we spend all the money and have all the bells and whistles and really try and do it properly. But ultimately, at the end of the day, with any show, like with anything on the stock market, it only matters if it makes money.
Sure.
And that's the only thing people care about.
So that determines whether you can take it to different venues, different countries. Is that the first question they ask is, what were your ticket sales at the last venue, basically?
Definitely. I mean, the first time you do it, and many venues publish them, so you can't get away with it. In the UK, no one publishes ticket grosses. So, but in America and on Broadway, they're published every week. It's terrifying. It's like a league table of how you've done. So people know, and Playbill and Polestar publishes results from major venues around the world, so people can see.
Sure.
And that's it. Promoters they've got to love the ad, love the concept, and I think promoters and presenters of shows take one look at the marketing and they think, are the punters going to want that show, whether it be someone famous or whether it be a show that doesn't exist yet, like the Illusionists, and then they look at the numbers, say, what did it do? And that, if it does $100,000 a week, well, it's got to sit in a tiny venue. If it does $1 million a week, then, then they work out how they can make money back from that. So, it's absolutely a numbers game. But you've got to back it up with a good show. There's no doubt about it. So in this day and age, that will, having an amazing piece of marketing gets you past the first hurdle. But if the show's crap, then it soon dies. So you have to have a show that the audience love. And it really doesn't matter if the reviews are good, bad, or indifferent. They don't make 1 ounce of difference.
That's fascinating. Wow.
And it gets very personal. You get a bad review, you go, oh god, you get a great review in the top of the world, but actually in the grand scheme of things, it makes not 1 ounce of difference. And we've seen that across the world with all different shows. I mean, the Illusions has generally been, other than places where you've got like very sort of high-end art critics, it's been incredibly well reviewed. I mean, we had a wonderful review from the Times, and he totally got it as a piece of family entertainment. 4-star review. He called it the Magic Cirque du Soleil, which was a wonderful, wonderful quote. We've had a lot of great reviews, and occasionally you get bad ones, but they just don't move the needle. I don't think with this show, people decide whether to see it from reading review. They decide whether they want to go and see an amazing, big, spectacular magic show.
Sure.
And whether if someone tells them about it, even better.
What have you found does make the difference with regards to, obviously I'm sure over the years you've tried a few different things. Is there anything you found that's really affected attendance or ticket sales? Yeah, definitely. I mean, with this show in particular, we can smell about 6 months out whether something's going to be right or not from the amount of PR requests that come in. Right. So the PR thing is very heavy. I mean, with this show, we have 3 PR companies working on it full time in each location. So, normally you'd have 1. And you really need the PR because with this show, there's 7 stories to tell. There's 7 different people. There's 7 different types of audience that would come. It appeals to a wide ranging, so you've got to try and hit that sort of the older people, the kids, everything in between. So the PR is like incredibly important, and then really having the balls to spend the money on the marketing. I mean, ultimately, you've just got to spend big and put it on TV. And an ad on TV can be 20 grand. Yeah. So and that's what moves the needle. A really amazing TV ad, coupled with a lot of sort of secondary and tertiary marketing with a very solid PR plan backing that up. And then once the thing opens, the word of mouth. I mean, like in London, we opened with a big advance. It was about £1.5 million advance. But then it grew because people saw the show and loved it. And loved it in a sort of fun, family,
it's like going out on a Saturday night with a family. It's that kind of show, and that's our audience. They're coming with their grandma and grandparents with the grandkids and Auntie Jim and cousin Bill, and that's who's coming to this show to have a big fun night out with the family. And it's important that they leave loving it.
This show's really interesting. Unlike all the other Illusionist show, you've actually put, I guess he's billed as a headliner. You've got Jamie Raven, who did Britain's Got Talent. I just spoke to him a few minutes ago. He told me he's having an amazing time doing this. Was that a difficult decision to put someone, a television
Not at
magician?
all. No, I mean it was he did really well on TV, and luckily we knew Russ, who manages him, and I called Russ. Said Russ actually had said you should check this guy out because he's probably going to do well, and I think I probably ignored him. Just because we get so many emails and stuff, not because I ignore Russ, just because I don't have time to look at links, because we're just so busy. And then he did a bit better, and I think I Skyped Russ, said, "Oh, does he want to be in the Illusionist?" He said, "Actually, he probably does. Yeah, if we just take a run at London." And with other competing shows out in the market, we just felt that we needed something more than anything else to give us a PR push, to get us in the papers. Impossible had launched at the same time, annoyingly. And we needed something to get in the papers, and I wouldn't have put him in the show if I didn't think he was really good. But I have to say, not only do I think he's really good, I think he's one of the most humble and likeable people we've met, and for me, that's 90% of how important it is.
You've obviously dealt with a lot of magicians over the last few years. They're not easy to work with sometimes, are they?
Not at all. It's it is definitely, we have 30 working for us right now. And I feel that the ones that are currently in the lineups of things, we've definitely weeded out people that have been difficult, and most people have been quite a pleasure to work with. But I think magicians in general are very. It's not a usual career choice, put it that way, and it's a very competitive and not necessarily positive type of industry. It doesn't, unfortunately, doesn't lend well to sort of collaboration, and so there's a lot of people that are kind of maybe envious or jealous of each other, and so that brings a strange atmosphere sometimes.
Yeah, you mentioned Impossible, but I first of all, before we get to Impossible, I heard a rumour when you did the first tour here in, was it 2012 or 2011? I think you did the first tour in the UK. I heard a rumour, was that meant to be a David Copperfield tour of this country? And
no,
you took over the day?
Not at all. No. It was what was it? It was just a booking, a very last minute booking. We had we wanted to play Hammersmith because of the ITV deal.
So that had come before the tour?
No, it came after, but it was sort of brewing. But we had a lot of European dates booked, then cancelled. Then it was just a sort of convoluted bit of a weird autumn tour where we had a lot of dates booked. So then we booked UK to ride into those dates, and then some of those European dates cancelled for reasons I can't remember. Then we took different dates. So it was a bit of a last minute booking, but it was good to do it. It was just probably stupid to try and do one night to the big show.
That TV special which you did on ITV at Christmas, that's a game changer. Does that help you come back and do the West End later on down the run, or
the ITV special?
Yeah.
It really wasn't a game changer for us actually. It played after the tour finished. It got put up on a night that was opposite the final of Dancing with the Stars, so originally it didn't rate very well at all. And the special was just the theatre show shot from the, it was a performance shot for theatre, but it was the show from beginning to end, and it was funny and there was good magic in it, but it wasn't like, I'd say, a compelling TV magic special, but I think people enjoyed it.
I'm really fascinated by the branding and the look of the show. Was that your concept, yours and your business partner, or have you had
yes, it totally
people
was.
help you with that?
No. Well, the Sydney Opera House helped us, but yes, it was entirely my concept at the beginning, and then the Sydney Opera House came on board, and we collaborated with them really to create the branding. But the name and the way it looked and all the rest of it was my idea.
How important is Angela Erin in all of this? She does all the costume design. She a little secret of yours that you found? She done a great job, hasn't she, with the costume?
No, she has absolutely done a great job. She's a top LA stylist. I mean, one of the great things about living in LA, which we didn't realise when we moved our offices there, was that it's full of the craziest, most amazing, talented people because of Hollywood and the movie industry. You know, if you are at the very, very top of art and fashion, all the rest of it, you go to LA because that's where the movies pay the biggest bucks. The best writers, the best cinematographers, the best photographers, the best stylists. That's where they live. Not for theatre, but for film. And we tap into that, so all our marketing, all our media is done by an amazing team in downtown LA, and you know they regularly do stuff. I mean, the guy that edits our videos has got an Oscar for visual effects.
Wow!
So you know, and he's just a guy in a studio doing it. But I mean, that's the level of people that you can find. So just the finish, the way that things are finished, the way that things are done, the quality of finish of costume and video and marketing, it's great there.
The 2012 tour that you did here, was that a success? The first UK tour?
I don't think it lost any money. I always think anything that doesn't lose money is a success, because it's a lot of shows fail. So it wasn't a smash hit success. It did introduce the market to us, or we introduced ourselves to the market. I don't think it really lost any money. I don't think it made any money, and the show was quite good. So yes, and everybody lived to tell the tale. So yes, successful.
Brilliant stuff. So let's go back to the very beginning when you first put the show together. Where did you find the acts? How in touch with magic were you at the very beginning? When
I was reasonably in touch with it actually, because I'd worked at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas as a fiddle player for Spirit of the Dance, and we were the 7 o'clock show, and Amazing Jonathan was the 10 o'clock show. So I'd actually met Kevin and quite a few of the other acts in the show, and I'd actually performed with Jeff Hobson in a corporate event. So I'd seen most of them actually, yes. And there were a lot of people contributing where the acts came from. We found some through various different ways, and so I definitely, and I'd seen the world's greatest magic show in the worst casino on earth, which I think at the time was the
Greek Isles.
Yes,
I saw that.
I think it may have been knocked down now. It had a bullet hole in the front door, and I remember being taken to it by a director called Ben Loki. And he wanted me to see it for reasons I can't remember. But I thought it was great, actually. And it had Kevin in it and Dan in it. And that was about 4 years before we made The Illusionist. But I also thought, because I'd been making cirque shows, I was actually, let's just make a circus of magic and take this amazing acts and do what we do to circus, which is live band, pyro, lights, video, all the rest of it, and then find amazing magic acts to put in it. So that was really the plan. And, we didn't book it till we opened in January, and we didn't book it till September. So we really made it very quickly.
What did you offer them at the time? Just that one-off run of shows, or did you know straight away what you were going to try and do with it? I'm interested at the beginning before it
No,
started.
I offered them a magic show, an ice skating show, a variety show, and I said, I quite fancy magic. So we made a promo, and we made a promo and a poster, and our very good friend ran the Sydney Opera House at the time. And he liked it, and he took it to the board, and they said, we'll give it a shot, because we'd had massive success with them in the past. So the previous 5 years, we'd done gigantic business with cirque shows in the summer period for them. So they had a measure of trust that we were going to deliver, and there's no way they would have booked it sight unseen. It was because we had a history with them that they took a chance on it. Sure. And they did massive business. I mean, it took just gigantic money. It really sold out before it opened, and the show was good. The bits of it that were amazing, bits of it the same as they are today. I mean, there's a few cast members. I think who's it? Jeff, Kevin, Andrew, and Dan who are still in it. Yeah. So and a few duds, but that's we didn't know. Then we put it on, and it was great. I got received well. First show was 3.5 hours long because everybody lies about the length of their acts. So they say, how long is that act with the books? So it's 6 minutes. And then 28 minutes later, how long's that act with the ropes? Oh, it's 4 minutes, and then 12 minutes later. So everyone wants as much stage time as possible, and people don't realise when there's audience reaction and it's going great, everyone embellishes. So we had to cut it down, and it was great. And then I say it was great. It was actually horrific putting it on. It was very incredibly stressful, and I didn't really even particularly love the experience at all. The Sydney Opera House is a very difficult building to put a show on because it's a concert hall with a very archaic structure. So there's no fly bars or the loading dock's hard. So it was a very stressful time putting on the gigantic magic show in basically 3 days in a difficult venue. So we left the experience having delighted that it sold well, quite happy with the show, and really not knowing what to do with it. And luckily it got booked in Singapore, which was an even different lineup, which was worse than Sydney. In fact, the lineup for Singapore was not good at all. It did okay. The business was great. The show was okay. But then the game changer was Mexico City. So we booked it in the Auditorio Nacional in Mexico City, which I thought was just a theatre in Mexico, because that's what I was told. There's a theatre in Mexico. And about 3 weeks before we were due to open, the promoter called me and said, "We haven't sold any tickets. Can you do a press conference?" I said, "Let me phone around and find out." So I phoned a few of them, Mark Kalin, I think Dan came down, and a couple of the others, and we flew down to Mexico City, and it's a 9,000 seat theatre, like a real theatre with flybars, but 9,000 seats.
Wow.
And there were 150 journalists at the press call, and we came back 3 weeks later. I didn't even know if it'd work in a big room, but we had gigantic screens and what have you, and we did 43,000 tickets in 10 days. So it was massive, and that is the ad. We did an ad of the Sydney Opera House and Mexico with the sales of both of those, and we put it in Polestar and Variety, and that's when William Morris took us on as an agency and said, "Oh, we quite fancy this. Like, it needs some changes, but we think we can take this on and help develop it to and sell it really around the world." And so that was 2012, and then for the next year, we kept on going. And we're doing gigs here and there. We went back to Australia the year after we started and did really big business again in different places. And then it just started growing. I mean, it started taking gigs here and there. Then we did the UK thing, which, you asked me if it was a success. It actually was a success because we retooled the show for touring with the help of Mark Kalin, who was invaluable, actually. Brilliant insight to... just great. It's just an incredible knowledge of how to get this stuff on the road, touring and all the rest of it. So he was really helpful. So it was helpful. It was successful because we ended up with a show that functioned and moved and could actually tour in a day, as opposed to like putting up in 4 days or something. And then off the back of that, we made number 2 and then made number 3, and suddenly the thing starts building and we're selling out Broadway and touring across America. So it's happened very quickly and rapidly, but with an enormous amount of hard work from everybody.
You mentioned that they wanted to make some changes. I mentioned, what did they want to change about it?
What, the agents?
Yes.
Well, I think they just wanted us to. Tighten it up. I mean, we had people in the cast that probably shouldn't have been in there. That I had to get rid of, that were weren't, you kind of keep, once they're in the poster, it's hard to, because you actually, it's a big investment actually putting someone in. We actually thought about this recently. Like, every time you change that lineup, it costs you quite a lot of money, because
costume, photos, all that stuff.
Yes, music, photo, choreography, time. I mean, time's the big one. Freighting all their stuff, all their equipment, the air freight of that. So it's actually, when you tot up how much it costs to put someone in, it is quite a lot. So when you've got someone in, they're in the poster, and they're good but not perfect, you tend to keep them in because.
Do you know on night 1 though if they're not right for the?
Yeah,
Illusionists?
totally. I mean, well, maybe not. Maybe not night 1. Takes time, new magic especially, or new people in the show. It's tough. I feel for the guys in the show because, normally most people are used to doing more than 10 minutes. And I think it's easier in more than 10 minutes. You've got half an hour, you can kind of warm the crowd up to like you, and you kind of start soft and you go. But, we're like, okay, so take your best thing, cut it in half, do it with our music and our screens, and you're going to follow a different act that was also amazing, go. So it is hard. I think it's hard for the acts, definitely.
Anyway, sorry for anyone following Williamson do the raccoon, or Kevin James is soaring in half. You're right, that is a tough gig, isn't it?
Or Hobson's egg bag. I mean, good luck.
The Magicians Podcast brought to you in association with the Magic Circle, the world's premier magical society. Are you ready to join the world's most exclusive magic club? Visit themagiccircle.co.uk to find out more.
Gigi-O. Free for 30 days. Be a pro. Get Gigi-O.
It's tax return time, and Gigi-O has made my tax return so much easier this year because everything is in a nice, neat place. It will save you hours in the office every single week. It generates PDF contracts and invoices for your clients. It tracks your payments and even updates the diary on your phone automatically. Read what others are saying about it and take a free 30-day trial at gigio.co.uk. That's Gigi-O spelled GIGGIO.co.uk.
Whether you're new to magic or a seasoned professional, Alakazam Magic are here to help. Alakazam have been supplying magic to magicians for well over 20 years. Not only do we carry all the latest and greatest magic tricks, books and DVDs, but we also manufacture one of the finest ranges of magic tricks in the world. The Alakazam name is synonymous with great customer service, educated advice and honesty. So if you're shopping for new magic, make sure you check out our website, www.alakazam.co.uk, or pay a visit to our fully stocked shop.
Yeah, we'll touch on Impossible if that's all right.
Of course, yeah.
That was meant to be the Illusionist. That's what I've heard. Is that true?
Well, interestingly, we were going to do a deal with the chap that produced it for him to be our general manager for the Illusionist, and we were in the middle of doing all that, and then yeah, he created the Impossible. So we
Is that
did
because you didn't like the venue?
We didn't want to do London this summer because the venue that was available, it's very hard to get London venues, but the venue was available was too small really for us to make to actually even break even for us. 900 seats is just not enough. So he went off and did his own thing, and I think it was all right.
Did you like it?
I didn't see it actually. Okay. I think from what I'm told, I just didn't actually, was only here about 4 days while it was on, and I know all the people in it because obviously some of them work for me, and I was told it was all right. It was reasonably entertaining and had some good acts.
Did it bother you a little bit that some of your acts who you've employed did go and work in that show, or do you just look at it and go, no, well, you're freelance, you're just going to take work wherever you can get it?
No, it did bother me. Yes, it did. It did bother me. I mean, in the fairness of everything, Jonathan had already had a relationship with the director. What's his name? Anthony Owen. So, it was fine. And look, I don't really care. I mean, it's a bit of a sting when you've given someone a lot of work. But there wasn't anyone really in it other than Lewis who had a lot of work. And Lewis knows very plainly my thoughts towards him and that show. And we remained friends, very close friends, in fact, even though I do not agree that it was the right thing for him to do it. But, I mean, he needs to work, and I get it. But Lewis, he's an incredible guy. I'm not going to fall out. He's a good friend. Sure. I wouldn't fall out over something like that.
They're doing a UK tour. Do you plan to tour this?
Yes, we do. I mean, I think the UK is a tough market, actually. There's not a lot of venues that are big enough to do it and really make it profitable. And ultimately, it needs to be profitable, and not for my bank balance, but just to keep it going. I mean, you've got to, it's a very expensive thing to run. All the acts are good working acts. Everyone gets paid well. They come with a lot of people and paraphernalia and assistants, and to do it properly with pyro and a live band and things, it's expensive. And I don't really want to do it. I don't really want to do a smaller version of it. I mean, we could send out with 5 and cut the band and no pyro and maybe cut a few big tricks, and but it wouldn't really be the Illusionist then. And I think that's really what sets us apart from other shows, is that it is big and over the top and spectacular, and we don't cut corners. We employ the very, very, very best acts that we can get. We pay them really well. We treat them well. We have a band, live music, which I think is really important. Great soundtrack, great lighting. So I'd rather not do it than cut it. But I think we will do a UK tour. Yeah, it's certainly on the cards, and the venues are very interested. We've just got to get enough weeks at the right time. And we're very busy elsewhere. We've got American touring through 2019, and which is an amazing, amazing market. And we're doing a big Asian tour. We're going back to Australia. We just finished the Middle East. I mean, there's a lot going on. So yes, it's on our radar.
What country's been the most difficult? Because you've been like Dubai and everywhere, haven't you?
Latin America is very challenging.
Okay.
Very challenging. Well, not Mexico particularly. Mexico is actually fine. It's just, the level of production. You've got to dealing with it's when you find in West End, all the crew are amazing, and the production, when the lights turn up, they work. In Latin America, it's very tough. Things don't work. Everything's late. It's just tough.
Yeah.
Tough going. And any developing country that brings in the show is tough. It's a big exercise. We just did Dubai for the third time, and it was very challenging. The first 2 times were fine. They sold very, very well. They were stressful, but this third time was very tough. We didn't have enough time. It was just a tough gear. Everyone worked 24 hours a day to get that show on.
You've alluded to the fact already that you get a lot of emails from magicians. Obviously, I don't think it's any secret that there aren't many magicians in the world who would turn down this gig, are there? So I've got probably 5,000 magicians listening to this. Give them some advice, Simon. If they want to be in this show, they want to impress you, they want to get in your show, what's the way to go about it?
Well, I think there's having something really original is great. Seeing a full act and not a promo is also the thing. It's like I know how easy it is to make a good promo with Final Cut and a good editor. You can really make anything look good. So it's really seeing a full act with one camera at the back in front of an audience, so that I can take one look at it and see in front of a live audience that they really enjoyed it. And just to do stuff that's original, although everything's sort of, from the past, but just, from the music to the costuming, magic still seems so stuck in 1985 to me. It's changing now for sure. People are definitely changing it, but it's still so many things are the same old bloody box being pushed around, or the same gag. It's just the same gags every time. My parents wanted me a doctor, but I ended up whatever it may, want to be a magician, ended up being a doctor. Just the same stuff over and over and over again. It's very it's nice to see the original stuff. That's what's good. Mm-hmm. And also for me, the fundamental thing about magic is that you're fooling someone with a trick. And the thing that's missed so much is it's clearly never a truer word has been said about an industry that it's not what you do but the way that you do it. That is just the fundamental thing. Ultimately, at the end of the trick, do people not know how it's done, and are they amazed, and did they enjoy it? That is the fundamental thing of a magic trick. Whether it be a card trick, of illusion, or piece of mensa, whatever. Are they fooled? Did they enjoy it? Surely that's the measure of it, and that's the thing that seems to be least concentrated on. That's the bit that people don't really spend much attention on. Are they all fooled? Do the audience go nuts at the end of it? If they're not, there's a big problem. And that's a funny thing.
So your own taste, what's the example of this show? What's your particular favourite part of this show? And it's difficult because you've got 7 great
It's not difficult at all. It's the raccoon, without a shadow of a doubt. Well, he's just completely amazing, isn't he? The raccoon is just sublime. It's completely amazing, and that again is an amazing example. It's not what you do, where you do it. Good luck copying that. Yeah. Anybody can buy a raccoon. It's just so amazing. It's so fantastic.
Can we talk a little bit about the 1903 show?
Of course.
So this is really interesting concept, isn't it, as a show? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Totally. So, okay, well, it was born because I'm producing another show called Circus 1903. Which opens next year. And actually, when we ran out of ideas for the Illusionists, someone said, well, why don't you do Illusionist 1903? And I thought, well, actually, maybe we should do that. So I collaborated with Mark Kalin and Mike Caveney and a few other people. Neil Dorwood, our director, who's amazing. And we came up with this concept to do, the turn of the century magic. And it was really lovely. If we talk about reviews, they are the best reviews for any of the Illusionist show that we've ever done. And it opened last year, and it's going back again to open in Australia. Opens next week in Canberra, then the Sydney Opera House, then Melbourne, and it goes on tour after that. So it's just a lovely show. It's got Tom and Emily in it, who are amazing. Mark Kalin, it's like he's been born to be in that show. Just because I mean, obviously he grew up and has been known for doing sort of, the 80s illusions. Sorry, Mark, if you listen. But that's, that's what I think. I think we call it a bit naff, which he and I joke about, because I don't think when he met me, knew what the word naff was. We've definitely told him it's naff. But he's a brilliant, amazing, perfect instigator for this, because he's just so fascinated. He lives and breathes that stuff, and so do his colleagues, Mike and Don Wayne. So it's amazing. It's such a lovely concept, and one that we really would love to take further. I mean, we'll probably take it on tour next year in America, maybe Broadway after that. And it's lovely, and it's really pure, and it's much slower than these shows.
Does it have the band?
Yeah, it has a beautiful 5-piece, almost. It's like a wonderful quintet that play turn of the century music. All the music is written by Evan Jolly, recorded by the Prague Orchestra, and it's gorgeous classical music and ragtime, like early ragtime, and it's great, lovely.
That's will it come to the UK?
Yeah, I really hope so. I actually think the 1903 might do better in the UK than this, although this is done fabulous.
Can I ask a question? Which one's more important, the West End or Broadway to you right now? You've got them both running at the same time. Which one is more important from, maybe your personal perspective or business perspective?
Well, they're equally important, and they're both doing well. So it's great. They both have been hit a little by the attacks in Paris. Well, after the whole of the industry, once those attacks happened in Paris for a few weeks, it was,
You mean live attendance figures?
Yeah, although the attendance here has been fantastic, but if you look at the curve of it, I mean, we were due to completely sell out here, and it will be close to that, but it definitely was softened a little bit by Paris, and that's natural. I mean, people for a few weeks or a week, or maybe a week, 10 days, were a bit cautious about coming into central London. I was here as well, putting on the show, so I felt it in the air. People were nervous, but no, they're really important, and it's so important they've done well. And they both have. I mean, they're both gross. Here we'll probably, £3 to £4 million in 7 weeks. So it's done very, very well, and Broadway will do great as well. So both important.
In January 2014, the Illusionist 2.0 was about to open in Australia, and one of the cast members died. We don't want to talk about the specifics of that. That's not fair to him or his family. But I'm interested to know how that affected the show. And just what happened from the show's point of view, really. Is that difficult to deal with from a PR point of view and things?
Oh God, it was just awful. It was just absolutely horrific. It was very, very tough at the time. I mean, I will tell you this, that when it happened, and Scott didn't turn up, everybody knew something awful had happened. So there was something. It was just so. It was.
You had an 11 a.m. matinee that morning, I think, didn't you?
We did.
We're talking about Dr. Scott Lewis, the hypnotist.
Yes. It was just awful. It couldn't have been any more awful. And then there was a big rush to try and contact his family before it got in the papers. And then I thought we'd managed to do that, and then it was the front page of the paper. It was just terrible. And that music from that show will always remind me of that, and everybody there. And there were some people there at the time that really did very much help. I mean, Lewis was just fabulous. He was just incredibly strong. He was, such a. Well, it just comes with experience, doesn't it? Doing a gazillion shows and being in lots of situations. But he was a really strong person to be around. He was very humble and very strong, and knew exactly how to, because he was like the leader of the troupe. And he was a very sort of, and everybody was. The Opera House could not have dealt with it any better. And I think, it was just very weird. The whole thing was so weird and strange. And totally. Just, nobody was the same after that. That tour was awful.
Going back to the show, you mentioned that obviously you sometimes look at acts and they're not right for the show. Are you involved every night? Do you give notes to the acts? Are you sort of, do you kind of tell them where they're going right or wrong? Or do you just kind of not say anything and go, they're not right for the show, and then you don't use them again?
I'll definitely say something if something's fixable, but I'm not... Generally, we'll do the work before they'll get there, so and people kind of do know. We'll pick acts that suit the show. So, the main thing for me is length of act. That's the thing. It's is it going to be, You know, if it's 20 minutes long, it's too long. You know, it's got to be short and condensed, and that is hard. So most of the work is done. I mean, we've got a lot of people here note it and do it. I'm certainly not here every night because we've got things in different places, but we've got resident directors that watch it. But most acts now, especially with a sort of show like this, most acts have done it before for us. So most of the noting or conversations with them about acts. And I'm very, if people want to try new stuff, I don't really care. I mean, you go for it. Like, you know, as long as it's not press night. You know, like if you want to try something new or change it up, I mean, I don't mind. I mean, it's an experiment, isn't it?
Will you be back in the West End again next Christmas?
I think so, yes. I mean, look, it's always hard to find a venue. And I can tell you, this theatre is not available.
Right.
So, because it's going to have a long-running show now. It'll probably be here for 4 or 5 years. So you've got to find a venue. It's got to be enough seats. And you've got to have the right season. So that's what has stopped us for the last 2-3 years coming into the West End. It hasn't been because we didn't want to come. It's because you've got to have, you know, I don't want to play. We were offered something last spring with 8 weeks' notice to open an amazing theatre in the West End, and I just didn't feel it. Didn't feel we had the time. It's a great venue, perfect, but I didn't feel spring was good for tickets. I didn't feel that we had enough time to sell it. So this came up, and coupled with Jamie doing well, we thought, look, you know, let's put Jamie in it, get us a bit of PR, and off the back of Broadway and off the back of, you know, I think we'll do all right. And it's done great. I mean, I couldn't be happier, actually, with how this is done.
Can I play word association with you, Simon Painter? Is that all right?
Sure.
Kevin James.
Kevin James. Genius.
Tim Lawson, your business partner.
Amazing and lovely.
James Moore.
The ladies' man.
Jamie Hendry of Jamie and Hendry Productions.
Jamie Hendry. God, what can I say? I don't know him, actually.
No?
I've never met him. No.
Oh, that's interesting.
But what can a word to come up with him? Well, if he was in the show, maybe I would call him the. Maybe he could be. His stage name could be the Replicator.
Dynamo.
Amazing.
Have you seen the show?
I haven't. I'd love to. I think it's sold out.
Yeah, it's difficult to get tickets.
I don't know, but I think he's great. Yeah.
Andrew Basso. He's been at something since day one, hasn't he?
The original and best.
What was the story the other week about him not going in the water tank because the water was too cold?
Well, the water's too cold.
So he can't do it if it's just too cold?
Not safely. I mean, it's serious. It is dangerous. I mean, like, I tell you something that really surprised me. So the handcuffs are not gaffed.
I've heard this, yeah, that it's a genuine thing.
Yeah, which honestly at the beginning really did shock me, because why would you bother? Why would you not just use real... I mean, I would use gaffed handcuffs, but... yeah, he's absolutely amazing, man. He lives and breathes it. He's incredible.
Dave Williamson.
One of the 2 funniest men on the planet.
The other one being Jeff Hobson. You love
Correct.
him, I've heard. Yeah.
Both, yes, amazing.
Colin Cloud, how's he going in the show?
I think it's great.
Doing a great job.
I think he's the best mentalist we've had. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I'd say so.
And
yeah.
you've got Chris Cox going over to Mexico.
Well, we've not had him yet. So
Okay.
so once he's in, I'll be able to tell you. But I think Colin's I think he's brilliant, man. I mean, I think it's really tough for a mentalist.
Especially with Darren Brown around the corner, right?
Well, I think it's tough for a mentalist because I don't know how well Darren would do in 10 minutes. Uh-huh. You know, he's obviously incredible, right? What amazing talent. And his shows, which I have seen, is not this one, but previous ones, are incredible. Amazing show. Inspirationally good, in fact. And he has truly changed magic for the better. And I think it's tough. I mean, I think if you just say, Darren, right, you've got 10 minutes, you know, I mean, I don't know how he would do, but I mean, it's just tough for a mentalist. It's hard to make people believe into whatever story you're telling and whatever kind of angle it is in a short amount of time. But he's doing great, man.
So, what's been the best day so far? You know, since this all began, what's been the best day?
The best day was probably opening Broadway.
Yeah?
Yeah, last year.
And then the reviews, not such a good day. Are they bad days? I'm going to ask you what's been the worst day of the Illusionist. Obviously, this ignore what happened with Scott, but something from a show point of view or something.
The review is funny because the opening night of Broadway. So you open and it was like an amazing opening. So the reviewers sadly came on a Tuesday, and it was like a half house on a Tuesday. So we did a few previews. We had a day off, and then we did a Tuesday show. And you know what it's like after a day off? It's just a bit crap. Like everyone just takes a bit of time to get going, especially on that first day off. It was a Tuesday. It was a rainy, cold Tuesday with a half house. I don't want to make excuses, but I just wish they'd come on a Saturday night when it'd been absolutely buzzing. It just wasn't a brilliant show. There was not enough energy in the air. It's essentially a comedy show, isn't it? So, and actually, a lot of the reviews were good, and some were terrible. But it was actually very strange because we were jubilated about the opening. I mean, every promoter on earth that mattered was in that room on opening night on the Saturday night, and it was so amazing. Like the show just went off the hook, brilliant. I mean, everything that you'd hope to happen. Jeff Hobson ended up with this like slightly delusional Asian girl for Egg Bag. I mean, it just all the stars lined up, and it was an amazing show, and that's what mattered. And then we went to the party at Sard. It's all great, and then at midnight, literally at midnight, midnight 01, reviews start coming out. It's like, fucking hell, that's going to be tough. But my partner Lee Marshall in America said, what do you want, sold out show with average reviews or a show with average sales that's got amazing reviews? I said, well, I'd definitely take these. Like, look, when Copperfield came to Broadway, he got terrible reviews. When Wicked opened on Broadway, number one most successful show on planet Earth, it got slated. So I looked up the Wicked reviews on Broadway, and they are appalling. They're way worse than we got, and I love that show. It's fantastic. So I think, the only thing that it didn't affect us at all. In fact, the more reviews came out, even the average ones, I don't know, I think people read them, or if they did, they didn't care. And I stopped caring as well. And then we got some good ones, and it's fine. And I truly don't care anymore. Good ones or bad ones. It's lovely when someone writes something nice about it, but it only matters if the audience like it. And if they really like it, that's what matters.
Where will this show be in 5 years' time? Do you want a permanent venue? Is that the dream, or?
I don't know. It's hard to tell, isn't it? Whether it's you never really know when these things reach their peak. We have a lot of shows, so this is the Illusionists. Although it's the biggest thing we're doing right now, it's one of many. We own a lot of other big shows that are very exciting. So I don't know whether will it carry on to be like Cirque du Soleil and have 9 versions out, 20 versions out? Will it be sitting down in Vegas?
Would you like to do Vegas with it?
I don't know. I'm not sure it would do that well in Vegas. There's a lot of magic, and there's not a lot of people. So shows, people sort of say, oh, it's done great in Vegas. Doing great in Vegas means selling a few hundred seats a night. That's doing well in Vegas at $40 a ticket. It's tough. I mean, I think Copperfield does great, but he doesn't play a lot of shows. He's got a small room, and he doesn't play a lot of shows, and as fabulous as he is, it's not like he's selling 20,000 tickets a week. He's selling whatever the number, like I think
700 seater, isn't it?
And he's wise because he's got a packed room, so that's he feels great and vibrant and sold out and all the rest of it. But like it's not huge amounts, and I'm not saying that to be like, there's not enough money there to do it. But like it has to at least break even.
You've got all these other things on the go, but have you fallen in love with magic a little bit? Is it some? Are you in love with magic, or is it just one of your projects that you're working on at the minute?
I don't think I have fallen in love with magic. No, there are bits of it that I really love, but I do get very frustrated with it. It's just so hard. It's such a hard art form. The other shows we do, like these big Cirque shows, that which is what I love. You hire the best acts in the world and you put them together. It's friggin' amazing. With magic, you have the best acts in the world put together and it doesn't work. And you're like, oh, you got to tweak it and change it and screw with it a bit. And it's just very, very hard. I think magic is so hard, as you know, because there's so many bad magic shows. I mean, for years, I need to go see magic shows. Just terrible, terrible. I remember seeing I think it was Steve Wyrick in Vegas.
I thought that show was brilliant.
Oh, did you? Well, the night I saw it, I thought I wanted to never see another magic show. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's another example of magic. One night it can be. I've seen Copperfield quite a few times in Vegas, and I've seen him literally knock it out the ballpark and be fantastic. And I've seen him fall a bit flat, on a hard, on a crowd that weren't into it or were too old or something. So it's tough. You can compare. You can take the same show, the same cast in the same theatre, and you can do it on a Wednesday night and it'd be okay, and a Friday night it'd be amazing. So with other shows, it's definitely a more consistent response. Magic, you've got to have something in the air, and it's very, very hard.
I'm going to be a professional and wrap things up at 5 like you told me to, because I know you got a conference call. I do have one final question, that is, what do you think, as the producer, the biggest touring magic show in the world, is the biggest problem with magic today, and how could it be fixed?
Biggest problem with magic is the bitterness that exists between magicians about copying stuff. As someone who's had stuff copied, you've got to not let it take over your life, and you've just got to look forwards and create new stuff and go onwards and upwards and think, well, it happens, move on, and look to the future, because it consumes people with bitterness and hatred, and they write lengthy articles and emails about these bastards that have copied their purple handle on their thing that goes bump, or whatever it may be, or he did that and now I'm doing it and I'm the most copied person, and it's so destructive to magic. Whereas what's positive about magic is creation and collaboration and positive energy, and people come up with original new stuff and looking forwards, and also wishing all the other magic shows goodwill. I mean, as annoying as it is when people copy us, or maybe they didn't copy us, maybe there's just other shows that are similar, who knows, but other magic shows, I actually think it's good. The fact that there's Impossible playing in the summer here is actually good for us. It's not bad. I mean, it's a bit annoying, but that's it. It's actually probably good for sales, because it got people interested in magic. Thank you very much. So you've just got to take a positive spin on these things, because ultimately, when there's nothing you can do about it, do you sit there and be bitter, or do you look forward and be happy and excited? And that's what magicians need to do, is not get too upset about all this bollocks about copying stuff and all the rest of it, because whilst it is upsetting, it shouldn't consume you.
Simon, this has been brilliant. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
That was the producer of The Illusionists, Simon Painter. Thanks very much for meeting me, Simon. It was great to meet you. That was a really open and honest interview. And as I mentioned at the beginning of Season 3 is all about asking tough questions. And I hope you feel I've been doing that so far. However, some of you may have noticed there was a key issue missing from this podcast. That was the ongoing lawsuit between the Illusionists and a very well-known magician. I did ask Simon about it, and he did talk to me about it during the recording of this. However, afterwards, there were some lawyers who thought it possibly wasn't a good idea for it to go out because of the fact that it's still an ongoing lawsuit at the moment. So that's why it's not in the podcast. That's why we're running a little bit shorter than the usual hour this week. But there you go. I know all about it anyway. And, one day I'll put it in my book or something, or... well, it probably will never be a book. It'll be like a leaflet or something. So, anyway, it was great to meet Simon, and what an amazing show it was in the West End. I'm sure you saw it, and congratulations again to all involved. Next week here on the Magicians Podcast, it is the one and only, one of my true magic heroes, Kevin James, is in my hot seat. I don't need to say any more. You know where to be. Next Friday, come back for a brand new episode of the Magicians Podcast with Kevin James. I will see you then. Have a great week. Bye-bye.